Much like an athlete, creatives want to keep growing, improving, achieving personal best and developing their ability. We want to be able to look back on old work and see how far we've come. We want to keep getting better and better at what we do. Much of this improvement comes through practice, by constantly and consistently working at your craft and getting better and better at it. You become more efficient, find better tools, really get the hang of things, work out what works and what doesn't work, find your flow and just improve overall. Learning and understanding grows our skills and refines our practice. Doing further learning and research, taking tutorials, learning new skills, seeing how other people do things, these are all ways that we can continue to develop and refine our skills. But there's one other way that's often overlooked, and that is setting a high bar. It's that measure that you create to define your personal successes. You know, when you look at someone else that does amazing work and you think to yourself, I really want to try and get my work to that point. That's setting a bar. That's saying that's how good I want to get, and working harder and harder and consistently and learning new skills to try and reach that ability level. Carefully considering and setting that bar can make a huge difference to how far you go and how much you can achieve, because you're sort of telling yourself, this is how far I want to go, and you're working hard towards that. So if you're setting it a bit too low, then you're just going to plod along, slowly get better. But if you're setting it really high, that's when you're going to really strive, really work at things, really try and learn the skills you need to learn to get to that point. I'm going to talk about how setting a high bar can make a huge difference to your creative success. Now, setting a high bar is not the same as comparison, because it's not good to be comparing yourself. Essentially, comparing yourself is bringing yourself down. And what we want to do with setting a high bar is bringing yourself up. So you don't want to be looking at people and thinking, I'm not that good, I'm not doing that well, and then you start deflating how you feel about your work, and then you don't try as hard because you think, oh, what's the point, I'm never going to reach that. Whereas with setting a high bar, you're looking up to someone and saying, that's how good I want to get, and I know that I can do it. I just need to keep practicing, and I just need to learn more. And then you'll actually work hard at that. You'll actually think, now how can I get there? What do I need to do to get to that point? New skills do I need to learn? How much more do I need to practice? How did they get to that point? Maybe you'll do some research and find out. So it's not about comparison. It's not about looking at where you are now and where they are, but rather looking at your own potential and looking at what other people are doing in terms of how can I try and get to that point as well. And when it comes to setting a high bar, you're not as attached to the end goal. When you're comparing yourself to someone else, you're obsessing. You're thinking, I wish I could be like them. How can I be like them? Why aren't I like them? And you're obsessing over it. Whereas when you set a high bar, you're not as emotionally attached to it. You're just striving. You're thinking, that's what I want to try and do. And it's more empowering, it's more uplifting, where you're thinking, I want to try and get that good. And you're more believing in yourself, and you're more enjoying that process. You're not trying to think about just that end point of, I have to get to that point, I have to be that good, but rather, what can I do along the way to try and get to that point? What can I learn? How can I see that I've improved and I'm getting closer and closer? So you're enjoying that process, you're enjoying the journey, and that's the big difference. So with setting a high bar, you're looking at the process to get there. You're seeing, how can I get that little bit closer each and every day? How can I learn new things so that I can improve and become more and more confident in my abilities, rather than just looking at that end goal and thinking, I'm never going to get there, that's so far away, I'm just not there. And if you don't get there quick enough, then you're just beating yourself up. It's really about the process. And it's really the difference between, I would like to be at that point one day, compared to, I'm not at that point right now. So why will setting a high bar take your success even further? Back when I was in high school, I really loved to set high bars for myself, and I saw the great benefits that came by doing that. For example, in my last year of school, our teacher told us to set a goal for our textiles course, and textiles was my favorite subject at the time because I loved how it mixed design and practical things. And so I really wanted to do well in that subject. And so when I set my own goal, I wrote down that I wanted to come first in the state at the end of the year. And everyone else sort of looked at me like, you sure? That's pretty up there. And they were all setting more smaller goals and more things that, were personal bests, that kind of thing. But I knew that if I set that really high up goal, it would make me push harder, strive more, do my absolute best, and really put out the best work I possibly could. whether I actually made it to that point or not. It was setting that high bar was helping push me into a new level of achievement. And in the end, I ended up coming third in the state. And the mark I got actually the following year did get someone first in the state. So I was just in a very highly competitive year that year. But the point is, because I set that high bar, I was able to achieve things that people thought was crazy. Thought, wow, that's a huge, massive goal. Are you sure about that? But I set that goal and I set the bar high, so I achieved really great things. And then later on, when I went to study fashion design, I remember rather than comparing myself to the other students in my class, I would look up to some of the famous fashion designers in the industry and think, how can I try and become more like them? It wasn't about, just looking at my own class level and trying to be the best in the class, but it was more, how can I try and be more like these big famous fashion designers? Now, in the end, I didn't decide to go down the path of fashion design, and clearly I ended up going down more the graphic design route. But the point is, I was always setting that high bar, and it helped bring out the best of me. Sure, I wasn't always going to hit that bar, but it's about inspiring yourself to be the best you absolutely can. Looking up and thinking, I want to try and get that high. And not being attached to that goal of I have to be there and I'm going to beat myself up if I don't. But it's just pushing yourself, giving yourself the extra push to really achieve the best you possibly can, because you are capable of so much. So if you set your sights too low, then you're not really going to achieve all that you're capable of. It's bringing out all those capabilities that you have so that you can bring to the world everything that you're capable of doing. So how can you set a high bar to create better success for your creativity? First of all, you need to be surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. If you're constantly hanging out with people that have lower abilities than yourself, then it's going to lower your standards, because you're going to be looking at what they're doing and you're going to be like, well, I'm already doing better than that. So it's not going to push you to try and achieve greater. When you're constantly around people that are more talented than you, then it's going to push you, because you want to try and get closer to that level, and they're going to really inspire you and really motivate you. It's the kind of thing that requires a lot of humility, because you've got to try and be in the room where you're the least talented person in the room, and that can be hard to do sometimes, to put yourself in that place where you're down the bottom. But by doing that, you're going to achieve so much more. And there's a quote from Tim Ferriss that says that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So really think carefully about who those people are that you're spending a lot of time with. If you want to start pushing your bar higher and start achieving greater things, then you really have to be careful and select the kind of people that are going to push you. It's the same with hiring too. If your business gets to a stage where you start needing to hire things out to people that are better than you. Don't try and feel like you've got to be the best because you're the boss, but hiring people that are better than you, it's going to make your business really bloom, and it's going to help you push yourself up higher too, so that as a whole, your business is really going to grow and blossom. If you start hiring people that aren't as talented as you because it makes you feel better about yourself, then it's only going to bring the business down. It might inflate your ego a bit because you feel like, yeah, I'm so much better than these people, but it's not going to do anything for your business and your growth and you achieving more and more yourself. It's only going to slowly pull you down. Remember that when it comes to setting a high bar, set your sights high, but don't get emotionally attached to it. You may never actually hit that bar you set for yourself, but enjoy the process. Set the bar high so that you push yourself to do the absolute best you possibly can, so that you can really bring out of yourself all that you are capable of, so that your creativity can shine and the world can truly benefit from your talents. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want more videos about creativity, branding, graphic design, and bringing the best out in your creativity, then be sure to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.